Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be back on the Corvette. You guys might be wondering, well, what are we doing today? Now, a couple weeks ago on a Friday vlog, we went and did a run and got some shielding gas for a MIG welder. Well, here's the tank. It's a 90 cubic feet of CO2 and argon mix, so it's 75-25, 75 argon, 25% carbon dioxide. And the reason we bought that was because we need to do some welding. And what car do we need to do some welding on? It's going to be the Corvette over here. Now, what we are going to be installing is a tow hook. You guys might be wondering, well, why are you going to have to weld a tow hook onto your Corvette? Well, the problem is I bought I believe this was Phoenix Industries or Phoenix Racing, something like that, tow hook. And basically, if you guys look at the design, your red threaded rod with the tow hook on the end of it screws into a assembly. And then this assembly, as you guys can see, it has a slotted, forward, backward, and slotted left to right hole in it. Same thing on the bottom. Now the problem is not with the tow hook, it's with my car. Now my car is a 2005 Corvette, so it's the first year of the C6. And when they designed this kit, this bolt-in, what they say is bolt-in kit, they must have had a 2006 and newer, because my car has these bumper inserts that are metal on the inside of the front impact bar. I'll show that when we get to it. But so I actually tried to install this tow hook when I did the heat exchanger. I'll have a link to that video in the description above. And I actually tried to install it then because I had the bumper off. I was like, well, I'm not going to need to take the bumper off. Yeah, that failed miserably, because like I said, in the very end, inside the bumper cover, front bumper impact bar, there's like this piece of metal. It's like welded in there, so you can't get access to the nuts. So basically what happens is this top part sits on the bottom of the bumper impact bar. Your bolt goes through here. You drill a hole into the bottom of the bumper bar, and you basically thread the bolt in through the tow hook into the bumper and into the nut that holds the top of it. So I don't have access to put those nuts inside of the bumper bar. I haven't seen anyone else complain about this, but I did start Googling some other 2005 Corvettes, and yeah, they all have this like little piece of metal inside the bumper, and you can't get access to it, because basically what guys do is they put a super long wrench plus like a painter's stir stick, and they basically duct tape the nut to that, and then they thread the bolt in through that, through the bracket into the bumper, and basically tighten it down to where they can actually break that duct taped nut off of the extended wrench. So I don't have access to do that. So basically what we're going to do here is take the bumper cover off, drill 2 holes, go grab some hardware from Lowe's, because the hardware that came with the tow hook actually has nylon on the end of it, and I'm afraid welding that would just melt the nylon, and I don't want a fire inside of the bumper, that I can't access to put out. So I've seen people weld those and they just melt them, but I'll probably just go buy some grade 8 hardware and call it a day. Like, that should be fine. Now I did think about just using nut certs, but honestly guys, trying to pull 3,000 pounds or 3,200 pounds, whatever the car weighs, on 2 nut certs, doesn't seem like a good idea. You know what I mean? I think the nut certs would just really rip out of the frame. And you could tack weld them, but again, I'm afraid those nut certs are super thin. Pulling weight, with that, it just doesn't seem like a safe way. So drill a hole, put a magnet on it, and weld in the 2 nuts. That should be strong. I mean, the strongest thing that I could possibly do. Alright guys, we've got the car in the air, it's supported on the lift, and now it's time to get this front bumper off. And we'll start that by getting all the hardware from the side, the top, the other side, and then the bottom. There's like 5 or 6 screws on there. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, I've gotten all of the main hardware out from underneath the car. Basically they're all just 7mm or 10mm, mostly 7. I've got to get some push pins, and the only other thing I really need to do before I can remove the front bumper, there's 2 or 3 10mm on this side, and on the passenger side, you got to disconnect the bulb. And I think that's about it guys. Oh, and the fog lights, but that stuff's just harnesses, unplug those. That's really going to be about it. So let's continue this on the other side. Alright guys, I've gotten the bulb out, I've gotten one of the nuts out, I just got to get this last one. That should be pretty much it for the bumper to get this thing on. So. Guys, and that should be about it. I should just be able to pull this down. Alright, now I got to get one more plug on the driver's side, raise the car up, and we hopefully should be able to take this thing off. Alright guys, got it finally. Jeez, what a pain. Alright guys, that's it. The bumper's off. And we get started on getting this tow hook finally installed. Alright guys, the next thing that we're going to be doing is actually removing the front bumper cover, the foam, and that happens to be a 10mm. So I thought that that was actually a 13. It's not. It's a 10. And the only reason we're removing the foam is because welding and styrofoam don't mix. You don't want to have a fire on the front of your car. So just it's 3 10mm bolts and take it out. Alright guys, trying to bring you in here on the tripod, and as you guys can see, so here's the front impact bar, and here's that like almost spirally shaped piece of metal. So I actually tried hammering this out because I was able to push on it with a screwdriver and it was able to move. However, I found out it's tack welded on the bottom in 2 spots and it's tack welded on the top in 2 spots. There's these little slits in the bash bar, front bumper impact bar, where it's spot welded. So trying to knock this out isn't gonna happen. I mean, I might be able to get 1/2 of it out, but I'm not sure if you guys could see in there, but back behind this piece, there's a second one. And then on the driver's side is the same setup, this like squiggly, you know, hump shaped piece of metal. I have no idea what that's for. That must be for, I don't know, noise cancellation maybe? But it's a piece of metal on metal, so you think it would just add more noise. I don't know. But, so that's why I can't use the standard instructions for the Phoenix tow hook, which sucks, but that's alright. I was kind of like, maybe we can knock this piece out and get in there and do the traditional install. So let's get you off the tripod and show you where we're gonna drill these holes at. Alright guys, you can barely see where I did the mock-up. So you'll see 2 sets of lines. One set was wrong, that's why it's got kind of like squiggly marks through it. Then the other set is where this is gonna end up. So basically what we're gonna do is drill those 2 holes like here and probably here, and then put the nut in, weld it up, and mount the backside of this tow hook. Alright guys, that's welding in the nuts. We got the, I already did the first one. Kind of wanted practice because I haven't welded in a while. And that second one, yeah, it looks horrible, but I'm going to clean up the welds with the grinder. So I got to get this kind of flat because the bracket needs to sit flush with this bottom mount here on the bumper, so on the impact bar. The first one cleaned up really well. The second one, it's gonna take a little bit more grinding because, well, I went a little bit thicker on the welds, and yeah. So I'm gonna take care of the grinding, and when I'm finished, I'll show you the finished product. Here's the final 2 nuts welded in. I've test fitted the screws, the bolts, they'll go in, and all we gotta do now is paint this and let it dry and put the tow hook adapter on. Alright guys, we have finished the tow hook install. As you guys can see, I did end up painting down here. I used some primer, then I used some SEM flat trim black, and that stuff matched the chassis perfect, guys. That's a little tip and trick. It's this trim black by SEM, part number 39143. That stuff matched the factory like undercoating perfectly. I actually may paint the tow hook itself that same color, just because I've nicked it a couple places here and some stuff on the bottom, and yeah, I mean, this setup, like, shake it, shakes the whole car, so I know that we're pretty solid here. And you guys will be able to see the washers. I actually put bigger washers in there because the other washers that came with it, they were slightly undersized, and there was some like extra play in the whole assembly, but putting those bigger washers in there, I was able to tighten this thing all the way down. So that's pretty much it for the welding, painting, drilling holes and getting this thing installed. The next thing that we got to do is, like I said, I'm going to take this off and paint it. Then after that, I got to go grab the bumper cover, put that back on. What I'm actually probably going to do is actually loosen these two bolts, because there's the bolt here and bolt here. Loosen those two bolts, and that way I can get it into its final position and then put the hook in, because there is going to be some play with this setup. So there you go, guys. It's the tow hook kind of finished up being installed. All right, guys, we have finished the install on the tow hook. Now we got to get the car back up in the air and get this front bumper reinstalled. Alright guys, as you can see, the Corvette is back on the ground. It's not on the lift anymore. And if you look very up front, you guys can see the tow hook, at least the part that's sticking out. And this threads and on-threads, so I can literally take it out if I want, or leave it in. And it's kind of like the newer Corvettes, Camaros, CTSVs, basically all the new GM performance cars all have like a removable tow hook, and that's kind of what we were going for here. So all these late model cars, heck, even my girlfriend's Lexus has a screw-in tow hook, which I had no idea that it had, and basically allows you to put a tow hook without, you know, having to get under the car, and if you've got to get towed off track or, you know, out of the burnout box at the drag strip, you know, someone can just hook a tow strap to the front of your car and not get under there, have to, you know, damage any of the splitter or the lower skirts or anything like that. Putting the bumper back on and reattaching the tow hook and lining that up just right probably took like an hour and a half, but that's the pretty much the finished shot of what the tow hook's gonna look like. And I did end up painting the bracket flat black because the shiny black kind of showed through a little bit. And again, I just used that SEM trim paint, painted that flat black over the powder coat. It may not stick, but honestly guys, you're not going to see it. It's, you know, hidden deep into the bumper. So I actually reread the instructions, and I didn't realize that there was a set of base model instructions. So, you know that metal squiggly bracket that I told you guys about? Well, that bracket actually needs to be removed from the car. The instructions weren't very clear. It said, remove corrugated metal. It didn't tell you how, and it even said it was spot welded. So, I don't know, like, I pounded on that thing for like 15-20 minutes, and like, it didn't move. It was able to bend, but it wasn't able to like, break the weld. So, I mean, either way, you know, 20 minutes of welding and maybe another 30 minutes of grinding and polishing, you know, and then painting. I mean, I don't know if my way was easier or that way was harder, but so far, you know, I'd rather trust a welded nut, I guess, to the actual bumper than a just a bolt and a nut. I don't know which way was harder, but if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Also, if you want to get notifications when I upload new content, hit that bell notification button. And if you guys want to help support the channel, click the links below. Thanks guys, have a great one.